And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick alongside Alix Steel, here to help take you through the closing bell. It's a global simulcast starting now. Scarlet Fu joining us in the television studio. Carol Massar in the radio booth. Matt Miller alongside Carol filling in today for Tim Stenovic. Welcome to our audiences across our Bloomberg platforms, including our partnership with YouTube.
Yeah.
Carol, did you miss me?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Matt and I were just saying, since you were out on Friday and Monday, that the four of us are just going to pepper you with questions about what you missed and try and get your analysis.
Did I miss
happened.
A lot?
You missed a little bit. Having said that, we're just a few minutes away from the close on this Tuesday, and we're seeing some selling guys into the close. We're still green across the board, but we're definitely off our best levels of the session.
There is still a lot of green. You have the lift of NVIDIA, and these, for the most part, the mega cap tech stocks are up there. A few decliners, fortunately for me, because that is my job, so I'll give those to you in a little bit. But even the SOX index is up. So chip makers in general are rising as well, and that's good for this market after the drops that we saw yesterday.
Yeah, and let's not forget that JP Morgan said that this unwind of the carry trade is only about halfway through, maybe a little bit over halfway through. So we might have gotten a little bit of a reprieve today, but that's fading in the afternoon. And as we get towards the weekend, closer to Friday, we might start to see volatility pick up again.
You're jumping ahead of yourself.
I know.
Yeah, she's moving ahead. But Goldman
Tuesday.
Sachs did say about hedge funds kind of getting in and buying the dip, but there's still so much systemic funds out there. You have to wonder if they have to sell that trend, and that just means more downside for equities.
Still a rebound here on this turnaround Tuesday, though a bit more caution as we get closer to the bells. When we started the show about an hour ago, we had more than 450 stocks in the green. Only about 400 of those stocks going to finish there as well, but the aggregate numbers, they're still looking good. Up about 280 points on the Dow Jones Industrial Average, or about 0.8%. A 1% gain on the S&P 500, and a similar gain for the NASDAQ Composite, as well as the NASDAQ 100. Almost equal gains, at least on a percentage basis. And believe it or not, your outperformer on the day was the Russell 2000. Modest outperformance, 1.2% here on the day.
Yeah, and definitely off its earlier gain of about 2.3%. I'm going to go back to the big caps. You mentioned it, Romaine, that the S&P 500, still most names higher today, 394 to the upside. Scarlet about 108 losing ground.
What's your favorite one, Carol?
Uber, maybe.
All right, let's take a look at the sector performances. Yesterday, we had the equivalent of a cherry pie. I think that's what Matt called it. Today, it's a pesto pie because everything's green. There are a few red slices, and you have to dig pretty deep. Tech, hardware, and equipment down about 0.5%. Food, beverage, and tobacco off by 0.1%. But by 11 sectors, each one of them have gained at least 1/3%, with real estate the best performer.
All right, I would not eat a pesto pie. I'm
Really?
just going to, yeah, I don't think I would. No. Like
Wow.
a clam, though. White clam pie, that's pretty good.
A white pie is
What's
white
the
pizza is
problem?
good. Okay, got it.
All right, let's get to some of the individual gainers. Lucid Man, at its highs, up more than 13%, finishing the day with about a 3% gain. Matt was talking about this as we broke it yesterday. This story, this company getting a $1.5 billion lifeline, a cash infusion from one of its biggest investors, an affiliate of Saudi Arabia's public investment fund. So that definitely helped that one out. The company also reiterated its annual forecast, so up about 3%.
I spoke with the CEO this morning.
And what did he say?
Peter Rawlinson.
And what did he say?
He said they're making amazing vehicles, and pretty soon people are going to start buying a lot more of them.
I bet he's feeling a lot better with that cash infusion. All right, Palantir up more than 10% in today's session. The company reported second quarter results. It did beat expectations. They raised their annual outlook, citing continuing demand for AI software. Uber, I mentioned that was, I think, my favorite gainer in the S&P, number 2 gainer in the S&P 500, up just shy of 11% today. Company reported better than expected orders in the second quarter, underscoring the continued strength in demand for rideshare. Upbeat, so investors liked it. And I just want to mention one more. Kenvue, I know, I'm going for 4, up almost 5% in today's session. Top in the S&P, they own Tylenol, they own Neutrogena brands, jumping after reporting sales that topped estimates and bucking a trend that we've seen from some others in that consumer space. Take it away, guys.
All right, just to break some earnings here. TripAdvisor coming out, their second quarter adjusted earnings coming in 39 cents a share. That definitely looks to be a beat. I am looking at its core revenue coming in at $250 million. It looks like that is slightly below estimates, but overall their revenue is also below estimates, coming in about $497 million.
Okay, we also have Airbnb results coming out. Let's give you the numbers for the quarter that ended. Second quarter revenue, $2.75 billion, slightly higher than what was anticipated. Second quarter gross booking value, $21.2 billion, a little bit shy of the analyst consensus of $21.23. But here's the outlook, which is what's driving the stock lower in after-hours trading. It sees third quarter revenue of $3.67 billion to $3.73 billion. Analysts were looking for, on average, $3.84 billion. So that missed revenue forecast really pulling the stock lower by about 9% right now.
One of the biggest decliners in after-hours trading, one of the biggest gainers is Reddit. The shares were up about 14% now, up about 8% on the back of their earnings. Daily active users in the most recent quarter, a beat, 91.2 million. The street was looking for roughly about 85. Revenue also beating at $281 million. Street was looking for 253. The company giving a forecast for the full year here that also beats estimates across the board, 290 to 310 million. That is the revenue forecast. The street was looking for 282 and change. Adjusted EBITDA, 40 million to 60 million. Matt, that high end of that range is almost double the average of street estimates.
All right, let's take a look at Airbnb again, because the forecast for the revenue missed the third quarter. And of course, this is what matters, right? It's about the outlook. People don't watch this show or listen to it on radio for the exact earnings numbers going out for significant digits. They just want to know, is it up or down? So it's a down arrow story with Airbnb. If the forecast is down, you can expect the shares to fall in the aftermarket and for a rough open tomorrow.
Yeah, and what's interesting too, just looking, free cash flow, $1 billion, that's up about 16% year over year. Gross bookings, value per nights and experience, they were up about 2%. It's interesting. They're also saying they anticipate, in terms of some of the commentary coming from the company, that the implied take rate in the third quarter of this year will be higher year over year, primarily due to the timing of bookings and cross-currency transaction fees. So they're getting into some of the kind of just a little bit more color in terms of the earnings. But again, down about 12% here. And that's building off a 4% down for 2024.
Yeah, I'm just looking, trying to get some read on capital expenditures, because they are investing. They talk about how they're investing in under-penetrated markets, and definite questions on terms of how much they're investing into those new markets. I was trying to find a read on that, but I didn't get an actual number. But they're trying to roll out different areas and leveraging global expansion playbook, etc. I want to get that number.
Yeah, I don't have a number here for you, but just some color on that. Latin America and Asia continue to be the fastest growing regions for Airbnb. It's seeing shorter booking lead times globally, and specifically when it comes to the U.S., signs of slowing demand from U.S. guests. And as a result, it's expecting sequential moderation of growth on the metric of nights and experiences booked for this quarter, for the third quarter. So again, going back to what Matt was saying, a big down arrow here for the third quarter.
Yeah, we get a down arrow for Rivian as well. The company coming out with a loss per share that's a lot worse than the street was expecting, or a lot worse than they had year over year. 127 last year, 146 this year is the loss. If you adjust that, then they only lost 113 per share compared to the estimate for 120. So that maybe looks a little better, and the revenue was bang in line with estimates at 1.16 billion. Again, it's all about what they lost compared to what was expected. It looks like they're kind of in the ballpark. If you look at the total dollar figure, $860 million in the quarter is what they lost. 892 is what we were looking for. This is a company that burns roughly $900 million a quarter. So they need to turn that around.
Instacart, of course, the company that operates as Maple Bear, out with earnings as well. The shares down here in after-hours trading despite a beat on both the top and bottom line. Gross profit in the quarter rising 18% to about $623 million. EPS also coming in above estimates, and gross transaction value at about $8.2 billion. The street was looking for $8.1. The forecast for the third quarter, the company says that it sees gross transaction value at $8.1 to $8.25 billion. The low end of that range is right on the nose of the average of street estimates. Nevertheless, shares are oscillating between gains and losses right now.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, this one's had quite a run this year. It's up more than 30% here in 2024, and you're seeing it kind of bounce around, as you said, Romaine. But right now, to the upside, more than 3%. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Another drop of earnings. We'll continue to track them into the aftermarket and, of course, into the Wednesday trade. That's a wrap. Our cross-platform radio, TV, YouTube, and Bloomberg Originals Alix heading out. Tim and I are, not Tim, Matt, sorry.
That's okay. I don't mind.
Matt and
I'll
I
be
are
Tim.
Back to radio and YouTube.
I could be a decade younger.
Scarlet and Romaine, of course, continuing on TV. Folks, we will see you again, same time, same place for our cross-platform coverage.